Today's video is on equivalent fractions. Here are some words to know: fraction, numerator, denominator, form of one, and equivalent. By the end of this video, you should have a good understanding how each of these words play a part in equivalent fractions. Let's do a quick vocabulary review on numerator and denominator. Let's remember that the denominator represents the total parts of a whole there are. So that means that there are 5 total parts in this whole. And the numerator tells me how many parts that I actually have in the problem. So 3/5 could mean I have 3/5 of a pizza, meaning the pizza may be broken up into 5 slices and I have 3 of them. Now let's take a look at equivalent fractions. First, let's break down the word equivalent. Equivalent means to be an equal value. So equivalent fractions means fractions with an equal value, but they won't look the same, but they represent the same value of a whole. Let's take a look at these 3 pizzas. The first pizza represents a half of a pizza, and then we have 2/4 of a pizza and 4/8 of a pizza. But if you notice, it's all the same amount. It just depends on how the pizza was cut. So once again, equivalent fractions are equal in value. The first one is cut up into 2 pieces, but we get 1. The second one is cut up into 4 pieces, but we get 2. And the last one is cut up into 8 pieces, and we get 4. But these all represent a half. Now let's practice creating equivalent fractions. When you are creating equivalent fractions, you are multiplying or dividing by a form of 1. So for example, 1/3, I could multiply this by 4/4. And if I multiply, when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. So I have 4/12. So now let's look at 6/10. Well, let's say I wanted to simplify 6/10 or write it in its smallest form. I know that I could divide 6/10 by 2 seconds, or 2/2, which makes 3/5. So writing equivalent fractions does not just mean scaling up the fraction, making it bigger. It can also be making it smaller. So this tells me that 6/10 is equal to 3/5, and also that 1/3 is equal to 4/12. Why don't you try to scale up 3/4 and then try to scale down 6/20 to get the simplest form. Pause the video and try these on your own. Remember that my answers may not be the same as your answers. It depends what you are scaling by. So 3/4, if I want to multiply 3/4 by, let's do 5/5, that would give me 15/20. You might have chosen to do it by 2. If you multiplied by 2, you would have got 6/8, and so on. Now, if I'm looking at 6/20, I may want to divide this by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 seconds, which is 3/10, which would be its simplest form. So this is saying that 6/20 is equal to 3/10. When a problem asks you to write your answer in simplest form, they want the fraction to represent a fraction that can no longer be broken down into any other equivalent fraction. So if we talk about the fraction 20/24, if I divide this by 2/2, I would get 10/12. But I notice that 10 and 12 are both still even numbers, and I could still divide them by 2. So I didn't pick the greatest common factor to divide them by. This is not in simplest form. It is equivalent, but not in simplest form. So let's try again. So if I'm trying to think what number, I know 2 can go in there. 3 cannot go into 20. 4 can. So let's try 4. If I divide this by 4/4, 20 divided by 4 is 5. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 5 is a prime number, so I know this is in simplest form. So that is in the simplest form that I can write the fraction. Now you try simplifying the following fractions, 12/18 and 21/24. Pause the video and then come back. Welcome back. I hope you've attempted simplifying these into their simplest forms. So if I'm looking at 12/18, I'm trying to figure out which number could I use to get into simplest form. Well, I know they're both divisible by 2, and then I keep thinking, well, 3/18 is, and 12 is also divisible by 3. So then I go up to 4. 18 is not divisible by 4. Then I go up to 5. Neither of them are divisible by 5. So then I'm going to try 6. 12 is divisible by 6, and so is 18. So I'm going to try dividing these by 6 over 6. So 12 divided by 6 gives me 2, and 18 divided by 6 gives me 3, which is 2/3. If you have to divide by 2 over 2, you'd get 6 over 9, which you should still see, oh, that is not in simplest form, because I can continue to divide by 3 over 3, which now gives you the 2/3. So if you didn't first divide by 6 over 6, that's okay. We just need you to get to simplest form, which is 2/3. So now looking at 21 divided by 24, or 21 over 24, we need to think what numbers. 2 doesn't work because 21 is odd. So 3 goes into 21 and 24. Let's try dividing by 3 over 3. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. And then 24 divided by 3 is 8. Well, 7 is a prime number, so 7/8 is in simplest form. This is the end of the equivalent fractions video. Great job for making it to the end. Below is the code for quizzes. There's 10 short questions to see how well you did. The timer is turned off, so it's not about speed. It's all about being correct. You can take the quiz as many times as you need to take it. If you are in Miss Gillum's class, if you just want to write what class period you are in, that would be great. You don't have to use your real name. If you don't use your real name and you want me to check something, please let me know. Come into tutorials and we can talk about the quiz.